Good morning. I'm so happy that all of you are joining today. I'm Aditi from the Doodle Factory, and I'm going to help you make this beautiful artwork just I guess to enjoy the 48 color kit that I've just found from Camel. So this is a nice easy watercolor illustration of a traditional bouquet which has multiple flowers, different kinds of colors, which helps us explore texture. It will help us explore color combinations. Today I'll be using the 48 color watercolor cakes. This is a new kit that I found, and it's absolutely brilliant because it has so many different colors and shades. The brushes that I'll be using are a set of the S68 and 69 brushes, and just a regular dark pencil from Camel as well. The paper I'm using for today's artwork is 140 GSM paper, so you don't really need a very thick paper for this artwork. Now this is a fairly complicated piece, but I'm going to try and break it down so that you can enjoy making different kinds of flowers, work with different colors, and also in different kinds of consistencies of paint. So often when I start a project like this, I will first make a test sheet on which I will make all the elements, test all the colors, and also make it on the paper that I am going to make the final artwork. That way there are no surprises. Whenever we are building a structure on paper, it's a good idea to first visualize how you are going to see your vase. Now our paper that I am using today is an A4 size paper, and it's good to keep some room around your A4 sheet so that you can appreciate all the artwork inside. That means that we need to work in an area which is about this large alone. So I'm going to start with the Chinese vase at the base. Keep your hands light and loose. Now knowing that we are going to paint over this, you can keep your lines very brief as well. First, just mark out the areas in which you want to put all the flowers by making circles, a little oval shape, a few leaves, just the line of the leaf. So I've made these tiny circles over here, which are going to be the ranunculus. This is how, if you can follow me, just make a structure that is somewhat circular, structure of the anemone. It's a very simple structure. You can start with a circle. It can have 5, 6, 7 petals. The beauty of this flower is that it can have as many petals as you want to make, because different varieties will have different kinds of petal structure. Every time you are building a structure, first make a rough shape so you get an idea of the size of the flower that you're going to make. So I've got these 3 ranunculus and 2 hydrangeas, 2 anemone here, and I have made the structure of the hydrangea. Now hydrangea is a large inflorescence, so at best we can just make an outline where we want to place it. For tulips, the shapes are quite pretty. You just make, so you start off with making a nice petal in the front, and then along the side you can make the petals towards the side, and on the other side as well it's going to have 3 petals. Now according to our structure here, we have another anemone. Mark a few lines for the leaves as well. Now we have another tulip over here. On the right I am drawing a bud, an anemone bud, and I am leaving some space over here where I would like to add more leaves. We are going to make almost like a fountain shape. So here you draw the petal coming to the side. It's almost like a C shape. Now since watercolor is a translucent medium, a lot of times the lines that you draw in pencil can create an interesting texture for the watercolor itself. So done right, you may not even have to erase your pencil lines. So here now we have some space where we can create more prominent looking flowers. So we have the corn flower. So these are cornflowers which are a very brilliant violet color. Now here I am going to add the anemone in the corner. Delphinium flowers are very simple. They are multi-petal. So as you go up, just keep adding these flowers. Now coming to the vase, I have drawn this oval shape for the base. Create a base for the vase itself. Make sure that this round shape is about the same roundness as the base of the vase itself. And it's just, I think this is an illustration of a chrysanthemum. So it's like building cloud over cloud over cloud. These lines are going to be guidelines beyond which we are going to paint, and then from here we can just draw a nice stem to create some leaves on. So we finished making our illustration and now we are going to start painting. A few things that I'll repeat. Keep a paper handy, the same kind of paper that you're using for your painting. Keep it handy as a rough sheet and as a color testing sheet. You can use a small water spray can like that. Just reuse maybe a spray or a cosmetic product to hydrate all the colors in your palette. Now at this stage it's a good idea to lighten up all your pencil lines. Now in order to make this porcelain vase look like a porcelain vase, here's a trick that I use. Now you make a generic grey shade using black, burnt umber and cobalt blue. This grey shade is a lovely multicolored shade which gives us a subtle shadow. Keep your hand very light and just mark this with a nice flattened brush. Now I am using a number 8 brush for this application and run the same color underneath. So I am making a base for the ranunculus flowers. That's 1, 2, 3 flowers over here using permanent yellow and orange, and these are easy applications. You just mix the colors. The less uniform the color, the better it is. I'm using the same color for the centers of the anemone. Now the application of this color is a little I wouldn't say complicated, I wouldn't want to scare you away. But start with the bright color in the center, then using a mix of scarlet and crimson, you can create the petals by dragging the color out. You can guarantee that each of these flowers will look distinctly different from each other, and you really don't have to do too much work. Now these first layers are always going to look a little lighter as we proceed. So start with a central swash color. This is lemon yellow. Wipe your brush down and use a light cerulean blue around. Now I want you to notice how I'm using the brushes very lightly on paper. So while these colors are still wet, I'm going to insert a little bit of ultramarine blue and let it do its magic. With a similar color tone, I'm going to also make the morning glory over here. Start with lemon yellow in the center, Prussian blue, and you have a Camlin blue. And between the two of them, you get the exact shade. By now, the area around the hydrangeas is dried, so I'm going to paint it with French ultramarine. Maybe I'll throw in a little bit of cerulean blue as well. You might even get a little bit of violet or purple in. Those colors all look very, very harmonious together. We can take a little bit of purple and start painting our delphinium. I'm adding a little bit of French ultramarine as we go along. Now some details will not be visible right now, but we are always free to come back and make these details. Now for the tulips, which are here and here, we use the same technique as we did for the vase itself. Quickly checking what areas are wet, what are dry. I'm moving on to making the corn flowers. I find this name really funny. It is spelled Flower and not Four. So I'm just making a patch of violet and purple over here. I'm going to use a slightly thinner brush to take this color and pull some strokes outward. So I'm taking some crimson and a little bit of orange. Now whenever you're mixing colors, make sure that the colors are also distinctly available for you to see. I'm going to create little C shapes. You can keep adding or changing the color subtly, because if you keep just one color, it'll start looking too mechanical, too forced. Okay, now is a good time to bring in the greens. So I'm going to start off with a combination of hooker's green and maybe an olive green. The initial pigments could be slightly light. We don't want to make the greens too bright because that will take away from the beauty of the flowers. That makes for a very nice warm and soft green rather than a very harsh green. The spaces in between, some of the spaces below, I'm going to add a green and just fill that up so that we don't have a vacuum. A little bit of red for this little bud here now that we have painted its green sepals. Let's switch back to a thinner brush now. I'm using a number 4 brush. You can take Indian yellow and a carmine and a crimson and have all these colors separately in your palette as well. So I have them all distributed separately. Start off with making a line along the edge and then pull the line in towards a central spine. Variation makes this flower look much better than uniformity. Needless to say, all these flowers can be made very realistic also, but this whole drawing with a casual line and painting with loose strokes has a charm of its own. Now moving on to the base, we have cerulean, we have Camlin blue, which is a nice deep color. You paint a little distance away from the lines that you've drawn. In every subsequent layer, you touch the line only from one side. It is an easy way of making a design look very detailed with the least amount of effort. Now here's one trick that one can use. Take a very watery shade of cerulean blue or cobalt blue and make the base of these leaves first. So this will give us a two-toned leaf. Now using a thinner brush and a deeper blue color, so we can take a permanent blue and an ultramarine blue, and you can start making the petals of the hydrangea. Hydrangea is 4 petal, so you can make the petals in just a few places. So this is a trick often used by a lot of artists, that you suggest a few shapes in certain details. You don't make each and every petal of each and every flower and allow your brain to just fill in the blanks. For the anemone, we have to just make a few strands of pollen along the edge of the circle. Just make a few lines first, and then we are going to come in and make the pollen. All these flowers have the same colors in a slightly thicker consistency. We make these lines with slight pressure strokes, and like I said earlier, you do not have to make every line. You can just indicate a few colors here and there. Now there is a design that we can make at the bottom over here. You can just make a stripe and that would complete the vase. You can, if you feel, use a deeper blue color and make a design. I hope you've enjoyed making this artwork with me. I hope all of you also pick up this wonderful kit from Camlin. I've really enjoyed making this painting because of this. I mean, the 48 colors are just absolutely brilliant. Do share your pictures with us. Tag Kokuyo Camlin and the Doodle Factory so that we can enjoy seeing your pictures and we can see many more bouquets from all of you. And catch you again soon. Bye-bye.